we ballin', boy.
Yeah. Know the vibes. We hear it's about them Canes Chronicles. Let's go. This game week, we got game tomorrow. Good. Yes. Y'all know the vibes. You know the vibes. We here. It's the Friday before the storm. You got the Miami Hurricanes versus the SMU Mustangs tomorrow in Dallas for SMU's homecoming. It's about to get real. SMU was the regular season champs in the ACC last year. In their first year, wound up losing to Clemson in the ACC championship game, but they still made it to the college football playoff. They didn't have a good showing against Penn State, but it kind of didn't matter because SMU punched above their weight. No one thought SMU was going to win the ACC last year. That was their first year in the ACC. So they were actually coming up. I think they came from the American Conference. No one expected them to do what they did. Another interesting thing about this game is SMU is considered Baby Miami. That's what they call SMU. They call SMU Baby Miami. What does that mean, Baby Miami? A lot of Miami former players, former coaches, etc., over the last few years have went to SMU. And in terms of the players that go to SMU, they don't pan out at Miami, or, it's just not a good scheme fit for them. So we always make this joke as Miami fans is, if a player isn't working out at Miami, we know he's about to go to SMU. And if he goes to SMU, he's going to kill it, a.k.a. Rashad Smith. He went crazy at SMU last year. Now he's on the Kansas City Chiefs. What other team would you want to go to in the NFL outside of the Kansas City Chiefs? You're going to play with my homeboy, arguably the best quarterback I've ever seen. Aaron Rodgers is up there, but Mahomes is Mahomes. The boy is different. He just punished the Washington Commanders last week. I'm a Washington Commanders fan. He gave us no grace, no mercy. He owes us an apology for that. However, SMU versus Miami, it's a noon game, which is good for Miami. Well, actually, I don't even know. Miami hasn't had a noon game all year. For the most part, we played in all primetime games. First game against, Notre Dame. We played Sunday night game. That was about 7:30. Next game was was Bethune-Cookman, which is kind of, FCS team. So let's, just remove that one. Next one after that was USF. That's the game that was delayed about an hour and a half to 2 hours because of the storm. Then following that, we also played Florida. That was a night game. That was a primetime game. We played Florida State. That was a primetime game. We also played Louisville. That was a night game. And then we played SMU. That was also a night game. So this is the first time Miami has had a regular game around noon this entire season. So it'll be 11 o'clock their time over there because the game is in Dallas. It'll be 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Miami should be good there because, according to what I know, they are early risers. They are practicing very early in the morning, so it shouldn't kind of, catch them off guard. As well as Miami tends to play well when they're looked down on or they're saying that Miami can lose the game. Somehow it just makes the team lock in more and they look focused. So that first drive will tell me a lot. Right? Like the team I seen came out against Notre Dame was focused. You could tell from the go. The team I seen came out against USF was trying to prove them something. You could see that. The team I seen came out against Florida, you could see that. The team I saw come out against Florida State, you could see that. Now, the team that I saw come out against Louisville and the team that I saw come out against Stanford last week, I don't know about that team. I do not know about that team. Miami needs to get it together. They cannot come out flat like that. Hopefully that second half turnaround was what Miami needed as a confidence booster. It literally looked like that once Miami was able to score and take the lead. And I think maybe when we went up 21-7, you can see kind of a sigh of relief. You can see confidence. You can see like, okay, cool, we're good. Because it looked like for a second they kind of forgot how good they were. They forgot, like, hey, we could potentially win a championship. They started to doubt themselves. You could tell they started to hear the noise because under Mario Cristobal there is this adage that Miami tends to fail under Mario Cristobal. Miami does not tend to perform well under Mario Cristobal. Late in the season, there's this adage that Miami tend to drop a game that they're not supposed to drop, which I can't lie. That's what happened. That's what happened last year against Georgia Tech. That's also what happened last year, last game of the year, up 21-0 against Syracuse. So he has to prove the doubters wrong, and I think the team needs to get that monkey off their back. I think if they can get that off their back this year, they're good to go. I think that's still like an elephant in the room. They believe they're good enough, but they also believe that, hey, are we this team that they say that isn't good enough? Mario Cristobal is our coach. Is he going to fail us again? Like, I think that's in their head as well. So let's just go over a few notes I have for the game. So right now, Miami is 6-1. Only loss came against Louisville. SMU is 5-3. They've had a few losses. Baylor was, I believe, their first loss of the year, and they've had 2 more since then. Last week, they were upset by Wake Forest. But not to take Wake Forest lightly, Wake Forest also almost beat Georgia Tech, which they really should have. The guy jumped off the sides. They didn't call it. Game went into overtime. Georgia Tech won. Wake Forest has been playing everyone tough. May not be the prettiest game, but somehow they know how to stay around. So they lost last week in an ugly game to Wake Forest. Miami is 2-1 in conference. SMU is 3-1 in conference. Miami is averaging 34 points a game. SMU is averaging 31.9. Miami is averaging 411 yards per game. SMU is averaging 388. Miami has 256 passing yards a game, 154 rushing yards. SMU has 266 passing yards as well as 122 rushing yards. Now, Miami has the number 1 ranked defense in the ACC. SMU has the 13th ranked defense in the SMU. I mean, not in the SMU, in the ACC. Now, so for Miami, what people have been talking about is can their defense lead them, which we should. We have Ruben Bain, who early on in the season, they were talking about like Heisman stuff for him. We have Akeem Mesidor. We just have a defensive line that's supposed to be ferocious. We have pretty solid defensive backs in O.J. Frederick, Xavier Lucas, Damari Brown, and Ethan O'Connor, who doesn't get enough credit. We have good DBs. We also have Zachariah Poyser, and we have Jacoby Thomas and the young guy, Bryce Fitzgerald, who has given us a spark this season. So we actually do have a pretty good defense here. So our defense is giving up 270 yards per game. SMU is giving up 399 yards per game. So what does that tell me? That tells me that there's opportunity. Now this leads me further into the conversation. So of that, Miami defense is giving up 183 passing yards a game, 87 rushing yards a game. SMU is giving up 303 passing yards a game, 95 rushing yards a game. Miami giving up 14 points a game, SMU giving up 21 points a game. So what does that mean with the spread being, I believe it is negative 10.5? What does that mean? That means that Carson Beck can have a great game for Miami. The X factor for me is Malachi Tony because no one has been able to stop him. But if I had to be honest, I would say Carson Beck is the X factor. Why would I say Carson Beck is the X factor? That is simply because Carson Beck has the ability, if their defense is not good with the pass, Carson Beck has the ability to have a big day. But we also know Carson Beck is a streaky passer and can have a game like he had against Louisville where he's throwing things in a triple coverage, a couple bad reads, things like that. So if he's on his A game, taking what the defense gives him, not rushing, not forcing anything, I think he has a good game. I also think you have to settle Carson Beck into the game. He cannot go play hero ball. If he plays hero ball, that's where I think it goes left for him. And unfortunately, he's not Cam Ward from the sense that Cam Ward would throw an interception. It was almost as if he didn't care. He'd throw an interception. I'm talking about he'll run all the way to the right and throw the ball to the left. The worst pass you ever seen in your life. It'll get picked, and Cam Ward like, I'll get him next time. He really had that kind of energy. He was a gunslinger. So he didn't care if he threw a pick because he knew he was going to throw a touchdown at some point. Carson Beck doesn't kind of give me that. He gives me if he throws an interception, he may hang his head a little bit, and then another interception can come. So he's more of a, I make a mistake. Now this can be monumentous if he makes a mistake, or monumental, if you will. So that's the X factor for Miami. In my belief, it is Carson Beck. Can Carson Beck take what the defense gives him? Also, SMU supposedly has a great defensive line. Can Miami offensive line hold up? They should. But within that, is Carson Beck going to force anything? If he doesn't force anything, he should be fine. The X factor for SMU is their quarterback, Jennings. The reason why? Miami has struggled at times with mobile quarterbacks. Those are the quarterbacks who have given Miami trouble. Not necessarily that our defense has been gashed up and down the field a million times, but It can make your defensive line tired. It's hard to contain them. You can't just pin your ears back. You have to protect rushing lanes. But Kevin Jennings can scramble. But the thing is, Kevin Jennings is hobbled. He was hurt coming into the last game, and I believe he re-injured himself last game. So if he cannot give them that dual threat and that ability to run for SMU, that can favor Miami. But the equalizer that SMU has is they have one of the best offensive coordinators in the country, offensive-minded coaches in the country, in Brett Lashley. Brett Lashley used to coach in Miami as well. Also, they have De'Aaron King on their staff, who was a Miami player as well at one point. So Brett Lashley is known for offense. He's an offensive genius. So he's going to scheme up. Now, the problem that's been with Miami is Miami has traditionally lost to teams that can scheme. Why? Because our offense doesn't really scheme for anybody else. So if Brett Lashley can scheme up and steal 10 points, you notice I said steal 10 points. Steal 10 points is kind of what Louisville did. I think they stole 14, where you come out your first drive, you got some gimmicks in there, stuff that they aren't prepared for yet. So you're trying to, in that drive, see if I can get me some quick points. Let me see if I can steal a point or two. Let me see if I can steal maybe a touchdown. You really want to steal touchdowns and not field goals. So if you could steal 10 or 14 points in a game, unless you're playing against another high-octane offense, you're giving yourself a good advantage. Why? Because if Miami has to now fight back uphill, their defense can't pin their ears back. You do not want to play Miami, and Miami is winning, and you have to rely on your passing. You do not want to do that. You're playing into Miami hands. So you really want to get out on Miami fast. So this game will be interesting in that regard. Can Miami withstand an early blow? Because the last two games, we've seen two teams get out on Miami. So now, is that something that's on tape where teams are continuously going to do that, or is this something Miami can bounce back from? Here's my prediction of the game. I have Miami covering. I have Miami probably winning around 31-17. That's if they don't take their foot off the gas. Now, the first quarter going to tell me everything. I hope this is how this happens as a game fan. If Miami doesn't win this way, I'll be highly upset. Also, it comes down to SMU's injured quarterback. If he's injured and Miami defense looks good, I can have Miami winning by at least 21 points. If Miami is locked in like they should be, and if they smell any blood in SMU, they're coming down on them. Especially they have Chris Johnson over there, who's very fast, who used to play for Miami, but I believe Chris Johnson is banged up. SMU hasn't had a bye week yet, so they're banged up a lot, right? Miami has had 2 bye weeks already. So we have some people that are banged up. We're going to see how this goes the rest of the season. Hopefully Miami can get out early and start to play and knock them back a little bit so that our backups can get in the game. We want to get these reps to these younger guys because you're going to need these younger guys. You don't want these more experienced guys to have to play the full game, because what happens when a Ruben Bain, knock on wood, what happens if a Ruben Bain or someone has to miss a little bit of time? Now you have to substitute someone else in who may have not played, so now they're not prepared. So in these games, I need to see, and I like what I saw last game, I need to see some rotation on the receiving side of the ball. I like that JoJo Trader got 22 snaps. Now the next thing for him is, can we throw the ball his way? Which I'm sure if he continue to get those amount of snaps. I like that Josh Moore got some more snaps. I like that Tony Johnson got some snaps, and we were able to do 2 wide receiver sets with Tony Johnson as well as Malachi Tony. Reason being because I don't think that this bunch set that Miami runs is going to continue to work. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see this bunch set continuously working all day, each and every way. I can't see it. And that's nothing against SMU. There's nothing against Miami. It's just the fact that that's on tape now. So I expect Miami to come out with a changed attitude. I expect Miami to show a little something different, even though we continue to kind of run the ball up the middle. We know that. I expect Miami to take care of business, and I expect Miami to cover. With that being said, I'll see you after the game. I might even go live during the game. If I'm mad enough, I'm getting on. Okay, I'm getting online if I'm mad enough. But hopefully Miami handles his business, and we can do a recap after the game. Yours truly. You know the vibes. You know how it goes.
We ballin', boy.
Shit. Signing out, my dude.
What you know about the mommy, boy? What you know about